Once upon a time, there was a boy named Elijah. One winter morning, Elijah looked out of his bedroom window and saw that there was a blizzard outside. So he got out of bed and walked to his window and saw that there was a soft white blanket of snow covering his whole neighborhood. And it was still coming down. He couldn't wait to go outside and play. So he put on his coat and his snow gear, and he grabbed his sled and started walking to a nearby hill in his neighborhood. And as he walked down the road, he noticed that the streets were quieter than usual. When Elijah got to the hill, he noticed that someone had built up a big mound of snow at the very bottom. There was a huge jump down there. Wow, he thought, that would be so crazy if I flew down this hill at top speed and hit that thing. So he positioned himself just right at the top of the hill, and he aimed his sled straight for that jump. And then he pushed himself off. His sled went faster and faster, and he kept steering his sled straight for that jump. He came right up to it, and he closed his eyes, and he felt himself hit that jump at full speed. He felt a sudden rush of wind as he flew through the air, and he kept waiting to feel the impact as he hit the ground, but it never came. He was still floating in the air with his eyes closed, and he felt a strange sensation that he couldn't quite explain. And then finally, it happened. He slammed into the ground and he tumbled off his sled as he rolled the rest of the way to the bottom of the hill. And when he finally stopped, he opened his eyes and looked around. And he found himself in a place that he didn't recognize. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before. The snow was a different shade of white, and the trees looked like they were made of crystal, and the sky was a deep shade of purple. It almost looked like it was nighttime outside, even though the sun was still shining high in the sky. Elijah looked around, amazed, but he soon realized that this new world was very different from his own. The ground beneath him shook and rumbled, and he could hear strange noises coming from every direction. Just as he was about to turn back and head home, he heard a voice behind him. "Hey there, kiddo, what brings you to our neck of the woods?" Elijah turned around to see a talking snowman with a carrot nose and two eyes made out of coal. "What? A talking snowman?" Elijah said. "Yep, that's me. I'm Frosty, and I know this world can be a little bit scary at first, but don't worry. I'll show you around." And so Frosty led Elijah through the forest filled with crystal trees and over frozen lakes and around giant icicles. They saw creatures Elijah had never seen before, like ice dragons and snow unicorns running through the woods. And all of them could talk. The ice dragon said,
"Hey, Frosty, who is this boy you found?"
Just when Elijah thought his day couldn't get any stranger, he saw someone he never expected to see in this world. It was his friend Calvin.
Hello.
You see, Calvin had showed up just a few minutes after Elijah did because he was going to go sledding down that same hill. And he also went over the same jump and ended up in the same mysterious world as Elijah. And as Elijah and Calvin caught up with each other, they suddenly heard a loud noise. They looked up and they saw an ice castle way off in the distance through the fog. And there was a loud rumbling coming from that direction. "That's where the evil queen lives," said Frosty. "That's one person you don't ever want to meet." And so, of course, Elijah and Calvin knew they had to investigate, but they had no idea what kind of danger they were about to face. "Hey, Frosty," said Elijah, "can you take us to that castle?" Did you not hear what I just said?" said Frosty. "All right, suit yourself. Just know that I tried to warn you." And just as they reached the gates of the castle, the doors opened and they saw the Ice Queen herself.
Who dares to approach these gates?"
Elijah said, "Hello, I'm Elijah, and this is my friend Calvin and Frosty." And then suddenly the ground beneath them shook and split in two, sending Elijah, Calvin, and Frosty tumbling down a dark tunnel. And the last thing they saw before everything went black was the Ice Queen cackling with delight. The two boys and the snowman couldn't see anything as they fell through the pitch black tunnel that opened up beneath them. They screamed and screamed until they finally crashed onto the rock-hard ground below. When Elijah finally came to his senses, he looked around, but he couldn't see anything. He called out, "Calvin! Frosty, where are you?" But no one responded. He felt along the rocky surface of the ground to try and see if he could feel them nearby, but all he felt was the cold, hard ground. But then, as he slid his hand along the floor of the cave, his hand landed on what felt like a big claw. And then he heard a low, rumbling growl. But that's a story for another day.